Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Thursday. It's October the 12th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And this is going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays. And again, there's not much to talk about today. The market is just at a point where it's not, we're trickling higher, but we go up two steps and we take a step back. We go up two steps and we take a step back, basically, is what's happening. And there's just not a lot of large movement. There was some movement today, not enough to, really justify very many trades. You could probably point out a couple more trades here that you might take, but these are the ones that I see that fit our criteria, that there's no arguing with. Before I talk about the trades, since it's not going to take very long with three trades here, I did want to talk about tick charts again. First of all, I'm gonna apologize, because the thing is with tick charts is I get this question so often that I get a little, sometimes I just want to say, quit worrying about the tick charts. It's not that, it's not a big deal. And I want to show you today that it's not a big deal. I could pick any one of those. It doesn't matter. The only reason it matters whether it changes the tick chart or not based on which data series, actually not data series, but your session template. Notice this is the ETH2. And the only reason it matters if mine's ETH2 or if yours is ETH, or you could actually pick, there's a couple of other ones you could pick here. You could pick, there's a stock one that comes in here that usually just says 24 hours. But you could also pick, there it is, default 24/7. You could pick any of these. As long as you're using 24-hour data, you can pick any of them and you can trade it, and it's not going to make a hill of beans of difference, whether you're successful or not, which one you pick. The only reason it matters is what I probably should have said yesterday, is if you want your chart to look exactly like mine, which it doesn't have to look exactly like mine, other than for learning purposes. I could, like I said, I could pick the 24/7, I could pick the ETH, I could pick the one I'm using here, the ETH2, and I can have the same success and probably get most of the same setups. It doesn't really matter. It's not that important. And I get this question. I'll say I'll probably answered this question. I'm probably not exaggerating. I've probably answered this question 1,000 times. And I try to explain to people it doesn't matter, but people get all worked up about it. And I understand, and I should probably be more patient about it, but I just get tired of answering the same question over and over. And I know new people come in, and different people have different opinions about whether it makes a difference or not. But trust me, I can trade any of those just the same as I could trade this one. I didn't even realize that mine had changed till somebody pointed it out. I've been trading it. I don't know how long I've been trading it, but I'm assuming that since we started trading the December contract, because that's the only time it could have gotten changed was when I loaded that new chart and didn't go back and change it. It probably loaded the standard chart or whatever. So that would be the only way. And I've been trading that chart ever since, and I noticed no difference in my trading success. It's exactly the same. I'm not winning anymore, and I'm not losing anymore. It's the exact same. So it doesn't really matter, other than the fact if you want your chart to look exactly like mine, then we have to have the same data series loaded. And even then, it's probably not going to look exactly like mine. It's probably going to be closer, but it's probably not going to look exactly like mine. But it doesn't matter. As long as you have the same number of similar bars and the same patterns, that's all that matters. Yeah, some trades will probably look better on my chart than they do your chart, but at the same time, other trades will look better on your chart than they do mine, and it all works out in the wash. We don't normally take every trade we see anyway. Some of us come in early in the morning and trade. Some of us don't get in until lunchtime and trade in the afternoon. So we're not, you don't have to take every trade. And so just understand that it doesn't matter which template you use unless you want you're trying to get your chart to look more like mine, but it's not going to change your success. It might help as far as learning uh, opportunities because you're learning on the same chart I am, and it makes sense when you've been trading the same chart I have that you would see the same trades. But I can tell you, you're going to see most of the same trades anyway. And I'll just show you today. Here's the other chart with just the ETH, and you can see it looks almost, the only difference I could see was we got an overshoot on this chart, on this channel here, that we didn't on the other chart. You still got that same short, still looks great right there on this chart, just like it did on mine. This channel looked exactly the same. You still got this second entry long on this chart, just like you did my other chart. And then you got this this short right here, just the second entry short setup looks just as good on this chart as it did my chart. And just to show you again, there's that short, there's the short, there's the long right there. And then you can see we don't get the overshoot on this chart that we get here, but everything else looks exactly the same. There's that second entry short. Actually, that's not a second entry short. The second entry short's here, but you get a doji, and notice you get a doji there, but then you get this nice bearish bar. You get that same bar, and then it reverses. Right here is the same as right here, and then as you go up, trying to see how I can get this. Yeah, here we go. And you're coming up, you get that break. You get that break here. That bar looks a little better, but it's not a really good setup anyway. It's just a first entry. You're better off to wait on the second entry, and there it is. And notice you get a nice bullish bar. Nice bullish bar. Turns back down up here. You get a more bearish bar there on a second entry. So you might, I probably would have taken that trade right there. It's not that much difference. This one could have ticked down and closed just as easy. I didn't mark it. It probably could be green. I'd probably mark it on this one for sure. It's a second entry. You got a break, two legs up. It's a second entry. So there's one extra trade that really is not that much difference than this one, because this one could have easily ticked down and closed and looked just like that one. So that's really the only trade I see that I would probably mark much quicker than I would have this one, which I didn't mark. There's this second entry short. Notice you move up, first entry, second entry. It's a double top, same thing. Nice bearish bar. And so nothing really, it's not that much different. So it's not going to make that big a difference on your chart. So again, I apologize that I was probably quick to just say there's no difference in the charts. And so I apologize for that, but what I want you to understand is it doesn't matter. It does not matter. There's a second entry short right there. Notice that overshoot, first entry, second entry. Let's go see what this other one looks like. Same type setup. You get a well, that bar is not that bearish. This one's more, that one's pretty bearish, but that's bar is way too big. It's after 2 o'clock, but I'm just looking for other differences here really. Turns up from down here. That would have been a nice place to go long. Looks just as good right here really. So it just, it doesn't matter which chart you trade. So I just wanted to take a minute and come back to that and, apologize for maybe answering it too quickly and abruptly. The only reason it matters if you're trying to make your chart look exactly like mine, and as you can see from what I just showed you, it's really not any different. The patterns are all still there. The same number of bars are all still there, and a couple of the bars look slightly different. Nothing that would have really changed your chart in any way. You still could have taken this short here. That's bearish enough on a second entry short after 2 legs up, just like it was. It does look a little better on this one because it closed on its very low. But outside of that one bar, I don't see anything that traded anything or changed anything in the way you would have traded today's chart. Nothing. So don't worry so much about the charts. Um, I use the ETH2. And the only reason I use that is because I like it to show that it closes at 315. And you can see that line right there. It tells me the market closed at 315, and then it opens back up here. Here's the other chart. It doesn't put the line there. It looks almost identical again. That's where it closed on that bar right there. Just to show you, you can see that's at 15.15. It actually shows 15.14 something, but that's where it closed on that bar right there. And you can see it, other than it not putting the line there, it doesn't really change anything. And you can see the time there again. It says 15.14.13, but that's where it closed on. Would have closed at the close of that at 3:15. You can see this bar didn't close until almost 4 o'clock. So, or I'm sorry, yeah, 15:59. So that'd be almost 4 o'clock. So this is when it closed, and I guess maybe this one didn't close till 4 o'clock. The market opened back up at 3:30 or whatever. So it didn't change anything. The charts are about the same, and so don't let it bother you that your chart doesn't look exactly like mine. It's not worth getting worked up over. And again, I apologize that maybe I was a little too quick to answer it the way I answered it yesterday. I probably could have been. But I'll be honest with you, I get a little impatient about it sometimes just because I have to explain it so often, but I apologize for that. So, but don't worry about your tick charts. As long as you got a tick chart, and you got the similar number of bars, and you got the same patterns, that's all that matters. Some trades will look better on my chart, some will look better on yours. In the end, they'll probably all wash out, and for the most part, probably all the trades will look exactly the same. If they're not, if you got a different data provider or you're using a different charting service, then no, it's probably not going to look the same. But you can't help that. There's nothing you can do about it. So, but having said that, as long as you have a similar number of bars and the same patterns, you're still good to trade that chart no matter who your data provider is or who your charting service is with. When you want to be worried about it is when you have a different number of bars. You're not getting enough bars, and that kind of thing. Your data has to be good, so you want a good data. And I say that because I've used different charting services. I've used different, I've been using Ninja a long time, and even since I've been using Ninja, I've used different data providers. I've tried 3 or 4 or 5 of them. I can't tell any difference between any of them. They all have traded with similar results. I don't have any more wins or any more losses regardless, and so I couldn't tell any difference in them. So I've been using CQG for several years now, and I could probably find there's one of the other options is probably a little cheaper, and I could switch over to it, and it wouldn't make a hill of beans of difference. But I'm just a creature of habit. People, I sent somebody an email earlier today. People ask me, why do you still use NT7? Why have you moved 8? Well, I don't need 8. 7 does everything I want it to do, and I'm used to using it, and I'm a creature of habit. So until I have to change, I'm not changing. And maybe they'll never make me change. Maybe some point they'll say, hey, you got to switch over. I don't know. When they do, I'll move. But until I have to, I just keep using the same one. Because what I have works, and I don't like changing things. So I'll continue to use CQG, and like I said, I could probably switch over to the other one, and it'd be a little cheaper. But it doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. So it's not worth taking. I don't want to take the time out of my day to go fool with it, to be honest with you. So anyway, I hope that makes sense, and that's clarifies for everybody that's worried about their tick chart or worried about what data series or worried. Here's the main things you need to know. You want to use a tick chart if you have that capability. If you're using NinjaTrader, you want to load 21 days of data. I always load 21 days of data. And I usually use CME US Index Futures ETH2. That's my standard. For some reason, this last chart, I got switched over to ETH, uh, just the standard ETH. That's what it was when I looked, when somebody asked me about it, saying that they were worried that I must be using something different because their chart looked different. And you can see right there, this one's on ETH, and I just showed you there wasn't a hill of beans difference between the two. Doesn't mean that tomorrow it might not be a bar that's slightly different, but they all trade the same. So the only way it really matters in any difference is if you want your chart to look exactly like mine. And even if you do all the things I just showed you, which again, we'll go through that one more time. 21 days of data, 2,000 tick chart, and CME US Index Futures ETH. Those are the only things I change on there. So even if you do that, you still may not get a chart exactly like mine. Your bars may vary slightly. So, but it doesn't matter. One trade might look better on my chart and another one looks better on yours, and at the end of the day, it all works out in the wash. So don't get too upset about your chart. If it's close, it's good enough, and that's the best you can ask for in tick charts. Now, I get people that tell me they put everything in like me, and their chart looks almost identical to mine. But it really has to do with where your chart starts counting from. So if you close your chart every night, which I do, unless you open your chart at the exact moment I open mine, you're probably not going to get an identical chart. It'll probably be real close, but I bet it's not going to be identical. But I open my chart around 7 o'clock every morning, somewhere between 6:50 and 7:15 every morning generally is when I open my chart and start trading. And I try to be ready. I try to start trading by 7 o'clock. And you notice you get a lot of trades. We didn't get anything today around 7 o'clock, but a lot of times you do. And so the only way you could make your chart look exactly like mine would be to have all the same parameters and us sit here and click open our chart at the exact same moment. And then that'd be as close as you could get. But even then, mine might open a minute before yours, or 30 seconds before yours, or whatever, and the count won't start at the same place. And that's why these bars are like, and that's the reason they won't look the same, is because each one of these bars is 2,000 ticks. So I may start counting my 2,000 ticks at 7 o'clock, and you won't start counting your 2,000 ticks till 7:01. So I'm going to get to 2,000 ticks before you are. And so my bar is going to close and you'd still be on the original bar. And so that's why they look different. People think that this is like a time-based chart, and all time-based charts are exact. It wouldn't matter who you had your data with or who your data provider was. If your data is good, all those charts, every 5-minute chart will look exactly the same. But it doesn't work like that with tick charts. But it doesn't matter. So anyway, I hope I've just beat that horse to death today for you. And again, if I wasn't clear on it yesterday, or anybody felt like I was being condescending, I apologize, because I just probably was not patient enough about it, and I apologize, because I just honestly, I don't have a lot of patience with it anymore after years of answering that same question. And so I just need to be more patient. And so appreciate you bearing with me. Let's talk about these quick 3 trades. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and mark this one green. And you could probably argue for it to be red, really. And I'll explain it when we get there. But anyway, prices are moving down when I come in. We get a break right here. That's your signal bar. It's too bullish, so you can't go short there. So see if you get a lower high, which comes in right here. Nice bearish bar. I like going short there. You figure we'd probably make a new low. It doesn't quite, and then you kind of get a reversal. If it would have ticked lower here and turned up, I'd like entering here. And you could probably even still argue for that. That's close enough to a reversal pattern that you could probably argue for that to be green since it didn't break lower. I'll even mark that one green. So if it did tick lower on your chart and then turn higher, you could have, that's a fail. Notice the U low, first entry short, second entry short. So that's a reversal pattern. Notice how we push through the EMA, pull back and test it. It's the third touch of the trend line. All that good stuff. And then we're moving up. We get a break here. I don't like this bar. It's too bearish. It's first entry anyway. Notice how we made a lower low. We're probably going to push up and make a new high, but wait on that second entry, which comes right here. This one is close to these two highs, but your overnight high is a little bit further up here, and so you've probably got room to get out. And generally, you get two legs up, so I like that one still, especially when that's when you hadn't had anything any better all day. That's a pretty good setup for the day. So I'm willing to I'm going to take that trade. And quick, easy scalp, and then it turns down. And notice here, you're moving up. You get a close outside, and you get two legs up and a fairly bearish bar. It's right at the highs, so you're testing the highs on what could be. It's probably going to be looks like it might be a range day. You're a little bit away from the EMA, so I like that entry. It's not textbook because you don't have a super bearish. That's a fairly bearish bar, but it's not super bearish. So, but it meets our criteria. And if you want to take that and be a little aggressive, you can. Like I said, the other chart, it does look a little better. You can see it did close on its low over here where it didn't on my chart. And that's really the biggest difference I see in the entire day is that one bar right there that could have easily closed, ticked up or down on this chart and looked just like mine, or mine could have easily ticked up or down and closed on this bar and looked just like the other one. So it's not any major difference really. So then we come back and notice you made a new low, pull back first entry, second entry, double top. That's a double test of the overnight high. Nice bearish bar, good place to go short. And you don't know that it's going to take off like this. This is starting to look like a little bit of a trading range across here. But you got plenty of room for that, so I like entering there. If it would have ticked higher here and closed real bearish, I would have liked going short there. But irregardless, it didn't, and that takes you into the 2 o'clock close. You're a long way away from the EMA here, and you did get an overshoot. I'm sorry, my phone, somebody's just texting every 30 seconds. I don't know what's going on, but I apologize. But it's a good bit away from the EMA. You did get an overshoot, and notice on this other chart, you get an overshoot and a fairly bearish bar on it too. So no real difference. So you could probably argue for that one to be green as well. But that's fairly bearish coming down through there. You know you're going to come back to the EMA soon, but that's fairly bearish. And we did bounce there before, so being that far away from the EMA with overshoot, if you want to be aggressive, that's the kind of trade you take because you may catch an important low and this thing may take off. It was an easy scalp, but that's all you would have gotten out of it. It would have turned back down again. I don't like entering short here. This bar is too bearish. This bar is too big. And you look at the other one. The only thing here is you got a little tiny 2-tick bar, but you probably still wouldn't have wanted to. Well, where'd it go? I'll just show it to you on this chart. You would have had a trend line working up here, and you don't want to, it's just not a good place to enter on a second entry unless you had a nice setup or a trap of some kind, and you don't have that there. And the other chart was the same. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope I didn't overdo it today on the tick charts, but I think that was a conversation we need to have. And that does lead me to one other thing. I got a question from somebody today. He was questioning, wanting to know why I was entering above some dojis, and it was a bar like this bar right here. Let me clarify, that is not a doji. There's not a lot of body there, but look where this bar closed. It closed almost at the very high. That's a reversal type bar. If anything, that's not a doji. Of course, you don't want to go long right here at this point, but that's not a doji. This is a doji. A doji is a bar that mostly has stem on the top, stem on the bottom, and it closes very close within a tick or so of its center. So in other words, it's a one bar trading range. So make sure you understand what a doji, like this right here, this is not a doji. That's a very bullish biased bar. Very bullish. There's another one. That's a very bullish. Let me get this out of the way. That's a very bullish bar. A very bullish biased bar. There's a doji. Notice you got stem on the top, stem on the bottom. It closes. That's a one bar trading range. So I thought I wanted to just mention that as well. So make sure you understand what a doji is. Just because it doesn't have a body does not mean it's a doji. A doji is a one bar trading range. It's a very neutral type bar. And that right there is a very bullish bar. That's a very bullish bar. That one right there, that's a neutral bar right there. It's one bar trading range. That bar is more bearish, but if it closed one tick higher, it'd been a perfect doji. It's got a little bearish tint, and that's the reason that's green. That one's got more of a bullish tint to it. There's another doji right there. Closed right in the middle. The stem's equal on both sides. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for the day. Hopefully some of that conversation was helpful. Wasn't a whole lot to talk about trades, but I still think that was all important stuff that we talk about. But I appreciate it. I'll be back Monday to start the new week. But I'm out of here for today and out of here for this week. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.